This episode is brought to you by Geno's East of Chicago in Los Angeles. When people think of Chicago pizza, they think of deep dish. Geno's East has the only authentic Chicago deep dish pizza in California, and it's award-winning. In Chicago, we don't eat deep dish every day. Our everyday pizza is also Chicago pizza. It's thin crust tavern style, and Geno's East has an amazing take on it. I love it. So many people haven't tried it yet, and you should. It's thin, with the cheese going edge to edge and cut in a checkerboard pattern for easy eating, and it has an amazing taste. If you love sports, Geno's East is great for you. It has 12 screens, and they specialize in Chicago and LA sports. They hit all the big games, too. I love having a beer and watching a game there, man. It just feels like you're in Chicago. Also, take advantage of their lunch specials on weekdays. It's a personal-sized 7-inch deep dish, a side salad, and a pop for just $14.95. You can get it until 2 p.m. Geno's East of Chicago and L.A. is at 12924 Riverside Drive in Sherman Oaks. It's just off the 101 and Coldwater Canyon exit, near the corner of Coldwater Canyon and Riverside. There is street parking and a parking lot in back. Open at 11:30 daily, every day of the year except Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'll see you there.
Sit back and relax. It's time for peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Jeff Santo, and I'm here with my wife, Christie.
Hello, hello.
Well, I want to start this off by talking about PCA, Pete Crow-Armstrong. And he became an All-Star again, his second time. And a lot of people were putting him down, thinking that this kid wasn't going to amount to what we thought he would become. Mm-hmm. And he has proven everyone wrong. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I believed in this kid the first time he showed up. Have I not?
We both have.
Yes. Yes, we have. But I do have to say this. I got a little concerned when he got off to a horrible start because how he ended last season, right? Mm-hmm. And we know baseball is very mental. Mm-hmm. Life is very mental. Mm-hmm. And the players today have to deal with a lot of life outside the game.
Yeah, like social media and pressures and lots of people, lots of coaches and
everything.
Yeah.
But social media, you know, that a lot of people in the past didn't have to deal with. So these ball players have to find ways to stay out of their head, right? But what I've seen from PCA is a transformation, a threshold that he has gone through, that he is now on the other side of.
Yeah.
And I can tell that by just how he stands in the batter's box. I mean, it's a lot like life. I mean, that batter's box is a lot like life for those players. You could tell if they're a little out of sync, you know, they got a hiccup in their swing. But this kid's doing it now, man. And it's powerful to see. And it's also powerful to hear him speak because he seems so elevated on how he talks, especially when he gets mic'd out in center field and stuff during the All-Star game. But there's a confidence there that what brings someone past their hiccups? Like, how do they get over that hump?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you could even go a step further and go, is there hiccups really from them or is it the pressures of the outside world? And if it's the pressures of the outside world, then how do you tune out the noise?
That's it, right? And he did something special, like, you know, especially when you're in a batter's box and these guys throw 99 miles an hour. A lot of them throw that hard now. And he was swinging at the high fastball last year and swinging at pitches he should never swing at. And I remember knowing about him in the minor leagues, and he had a high on-base percentage, which I've always told you that signifies a really good hitter.
That wins games.
That wins games. There you go. Moneyball, right? So, you know, when he was having a low on-base percentage with a low average, but more importantly, on base because you need that guy on base. He could steal bases. He could do so much. He's a five-tool player. Something happened, though. He held off all those pitches. He doesn't swing at the high fastball. Hard, like literally 10% of what he was swinging at before. Mm-hmm. And there's something very powerful about how he did make that transition. right?
Right. And you can only imagine all of the people in his head when he was starting to have trouble at the plate. You know, I mean, coaches today don't get paid what the coaches of your dad's day did.
Get paid? No, they get paid more today.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, did I sound...
You might have flipped that, or maybe I heard that wrong.
Either way, there's truth in that. And the flip side of that coin is that because of the higher salaries, they all feel like they need to do more.
Prove themselves as coaches.
And really affect themselves onto the player, when sometimes that can really change a player. And it really is a telltale sign of, is the player a star or not, you know?
Yeah.
And can they tune out the noise?
Yeah, you know, and that goes for a lot of just coaches in life, right? We've all had our bad coaches somewhere along the road, or bad teacher, or something that just took you off your path, per se. And yeah, more than ever in baseball, you're very correct about that. I believe that these hitting coaches, too, have to prove themselves, or they're fired. They won't fire the manager right away. He might have a bigger contract they can't get rid of. They're going to lose one of these coaches first to make a point. But as in life, I believe baseball, you know, run hand in hand with life. If you look closely at the game, there's no clock, you know, situations that arise that, you know, it deals the same way in life, man. And you got to get on base in life, right? You got to make your own opportunities. You got to hit the right pitches, you know, can't swing at bad ones. And what PCA did, he found himself, he dug down deep in himself. He had to, because only he can change it, right?
Have you ever done that?
Done what?
Drowned out the noise?
Yeah, during this movie. The threshold that I had to go through in making this movie, I believe, with you, yeah, I definitely had to. And that's why I feel like, you know, and I have in my life, everyone does, right? On their path, you go through different stages of your life. I just can recall where I am right now, right? In the present tense. So, but looking back, I don't think I had the awareness to know that I was going through something like that, you know, as much as I can tell today, and see it in others too.
I did.
Wow. Yeah. When?
So, well, before I met you.
Okay.
So, I had a lot of people tell me one way or another that finding the kind of relationship that I wanted probably wasn't in the cards for me. You know, I didn't want kids. I didn't have a conventional career or a way of making money. And I have a checkered past, you know, a lot of red flags.
Why do you say that?
What do you mean? Why? You want me to talk about my past briefly?
No, but you say checkered. It's everything that, you know, built you.
Yeah, I mean, I went to juvenile hall when I was a kid.
Yes.
You know, I'm a little fiery, you know.
You are.
Hard-headed.
There you go, but there's the guts.
And I've had, you know, really bad past relationships. There was abuse in there. There was death in there. So there's a lot of tragedy. And having the ability to not only not believe the cynical view that people have on my ability to have a relationship, but also having, it's, some people could say it's lucky that we found each other, right? I think that
luck's only a part of it.
Luck's only part of it, to quote our movie. You know, there's luck in how we met, but I think that the rest is choice. The rest is skill. The rest is choosing each other every day. The rest is making a decision to not listen to the patterns of the past or let the baggage of the past come into this relationship. Having the blinders on to properly give this relationship the attention, to put myself into you, you know, and you into me. And so having the blinders on, you know, like at the bat, like it's like in baseball, you don't become a great hitter because you stepped into the batter box one time and hit a grand slam. You keep showing up, you keep making adjustments, you trust your instincts. You know, some days you strike out, some days you hit one out of the park, but you keep stepping back in the batter's box and listening to your heart. Over time, staying true to your heart's desire is what produces results.
I love that, babe. So. Yeah. I believe it in your own cure for yourself, too. You know what I mean? Like, I think, you know, your guttural action in bettering yourself, your intuition to elevate to your own next level. I mean, it really is like, meaning don't let the noise of others tell you what you need to do for your life's path. I believe everyone has the answer for themselves. It's just a matter of how deep you're going to dig for it. It's there inside you. I think
you got to listen to
it,
right?
Yeah.
And also, but what you just said there kind of made me think that you did know. You know, it's like having that awareness to even do the action. You're also aware that you're doing the action.
But sometimes you're not, when you're younger, you're doing it because you just know you're not happy with yourself. You don't know how to express what's going on.
True.
So the actions are going to be a lot of actions. Some are going to take you down some dangerous bad roads, and some then you finally like, oh, wrong choice here. I think the older you get, you start going, okay, now here's where the wisdom comes in, right? Here's where the choices are. Yeah, if I'm going to do this, this is how I have to do it.
You know, it's funny. So the fact that you said that made me just think about it. So I didn't have consciousness of this action when I first started on the path. Right. So when I first started on the path of looking for love, right, I was like 14 years old. And
young.
And that's when you're never too young to have love. But I was a little rebellious in my choice of. I
would say.
So I wanted to run away with this boy. And so I stole my parents' car, and that's what ended me up in
Not a great choice. And I don't know where you guys thought you were going to go.
I did not have awareness as far as my listening to my heart. I was listening to my heart. I knew I was listening to my heart, but I didn't know it was like for this journey.
Right. It was for some journey that was going to get to the next journey, then the next journey, then the next journey. And thank God you survived.
I realized I am searching for love. Love is a consequential part of who I am. I need to find that before I can do anything else.
Yeah. You know, and I also think, going back to I always say this, going back to our childhoods, there's a point there where I feel like, you're already created. Your responses have been kind of molded by the time you're 8. I believe in that. I remember seeing a picture of you as a young girl, and I'm like, oh my God, that's you. Look at you. You're already deep in thought.
In thought. You
were totally deep in thought. And I have a lot of friends I grew up with, and some friends might think, when I was a kid, I didn't like the way I'm like, hey man, I was attracted to you because you were that way. You know what I mean?
You were a little showman.
Well, I was, because I grew up in a unique place, right? So I got to see larger than life men that were unique.
No, it's just you.
Well, I think part of your personality is formed by the people around you at a young age.
Yes, but it was also your stuff that you were born with.
Probably, but again, you lose part of that child in you, right? As you start to evolve in your teen years and other things come up and your world kind of gets, thrown off axis.
Well, that's the world testing you, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to put the blinders on.
You do at some point in time.
It is a skill to learn how to put the blinders on, and those people can really, climb the mountaintop.
Yeah, and I think that we should all eventually, I think it's a full circle the older we get, because I can say I'm getting older, and you start going back to that kid in you. I really have gone back to that kid, man, and I like him a lot, and I think he's starting to like me too. So, yeah. Anyway, we got a great show today, and Granden Galen Goetzman, I don't want to talk too much about his story, just let it unfold.
Yes.
He plays the character Conrad in our film, Forever Wild Ones. Yes. Unique story, but it's also the independent spirit of how we got to know each other. Mm-hmm. Okay, and
Don't give away too much.
I won't, and how he became the character that he's playing, and you're going to be hearing about his character when you watch this movie. You hear about him throughout, and then he appears in the third act, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. So enjoy the show.
Enjoy. This episode is also brought to you by Adama Farm. Adama Farm is a small regenerative vegetable and flower farm in Marengo, Illinois. Dedicated to growing nutrient-dense food using no-till, chemical-free practices that prioritize healthy soil and thriving ecosystems. Beyond producing fresh, seasonal vegetables and flowers, the farm exists to reconnect people with their food through CSA memberships, farmers markets, educational workshops, and community events. Rooted in stewardship, sustainability, and a deep appreciation for the land, Adama Farm hopes to inspire others to support local, eat seasonally, and cultivate a stronger connection with nature and the people who grow their food. Go to adamafarm.co. That's ADAMA farm.co.
My special guest today is a former professional baseball player, former professional wrestler, and now actor, Granden Galen Goetzman, who played Conrad in our indie film Forever Wild Ones. Granden's path proves that you never know where one dream can lead. From the baseball field to the wrestling ring to the movie set, his journey is one I'm excited to share today. Granden, welcome to Peanuts, Popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
Jeff, my man, thank you for having me, and it's great to talk to you, as always.
Right on, brother. Hey, let's begin where you and I first crossed paths on the Sabrina Carpenter's Manchild music video, which is now nearing 200 million views.
I saw that, yeah.
Your perspective first. Take us back to your audition, getting the role, and making the trip out to the Lancaster Desert where our paths first crossed.
No doubt, no doubt. So interestingly, at the time, I had an agent. I started my acting career with an agent. Even with having her, I still wanted to. I was asking myself, what can I do? What can I still do to put myself in a position to be seen and get roles and that sort of thing. So really, one of the things that I landed on was I had heard about this Actors Access. So I said, you know what, I'm going to just start combing through these every day. While she's doing whatever she's doing, I'm going to be doing doing my part. So, I'm combing through and I go to every region. I go LA, New York, because I can be anywhere, anytime. Jeff, I want to do this.
I got you.
So, in the LA, it says A-list pop star music video, we're looking for interesting people. And I'm thinking to myself, well, damn, come on now. I got this,
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I had only had 2 auditions at the time. So I submit to this, on my own accord. And, fast forward a week or so. So, I live in this log cabin in Florida, and I have a training facility, I'm going to call it, but it's really just an outdoor weight room of different things. So, one day I do this nice workout. I don't miss workouts, Jeff. You know that.
Yeah.
And so that's a staple of my day. I get my workout in. So I get my workout in and, I head inside and I'm thinking, you know what, I better check my email because nowadays I'm always, you know how it is. I'm always checking my email. Maybe I got an audition. Maybe I got a role. Let's see what's going on. So I'm always checking my email. So I got the towel wrapped around my waist, going to take a shower. I check my email and I have a response from this A-list pop star music video, and, it just says, hey, we'd love to see you audition for this music video. And then they, tell me what they want me to do. I think it was something simple. Just send us a couple clips of you. You're on a motorcycle. You got a girl on your back.
Yeah.
Right? Is that kind of similar to what you did?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. And at that time, I didn't really even remember submitting to it. I didn't even really, understand is this real or is this not real? Is this a scam? But I ultimately say, you know what? I almost didn't do it. I was very close to not doing it. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to throw something together. And so I threw the towel on the shower rack. I went into my little studio butt naked. What comes to mind, I'm just going to rock it. And I put together 5 or 6 dumb little things that I thought. And sure enough, I submitted it, went in the shower, didn't think anything more of it. And then shortly thereafter, she's emailing me back, hey, you've been shortlisted for this role. I'm going back and forth with her. Hey, ultimately then I'd like for you to come to our live audition tomorrow, in Silver Lake.
That's the one I went to. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I was like, hey, I'm actually in Tampa, Florida, And, no problem. I said that, hey, if I get the role, I can be there. It's no problem. And she said, okay, cool. So then, a couple of days or so went again. And then I actually had I had a Zoom with one of the guys, Vanya. It might have been the smaller guy.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. So
they're a directing team, right?
Yeah. But it was just one of them. And I don't exactly recall. But yeah, I get on Zoom with him. And I kind of have like another live audition with him. He just tells me to turn around. And yeah, so ultimately I get the role. And I say, hey, I'll be in LA, And then interestingly, I message my agent and I say, hey, I was so happy, Jeff. This is my first role, Right. This is my first role. I'm 3 months into this thing. That was maybe like my third audition, by the way. And so I'm so ecstatic, man. I got my first role. I message her and she tells me, don't go do it. She says, don't waste your time.
Wow.
Yeah. She said, don't even do it. Don't waste your time. Kind of made it sound as if my head's in the gutter. I should be studying. I should be. And I'm thinking, man, they just put me in the game,
Yeah,
I'm in the game here. And ultimately I talked to my mom and man, we just said, you know what? We're just going to go. Didn't tell her.
Right on, man.
And she's in my past now, by the way.
Yeah, of course, because that's your gut saying go, because you felt it was something in LA that's promising. And hey, when I got that thing too, A-list pop star, my manager sent it to me, and I was like, God, I wonder who it is. And we were guessing. I don't know if you were guessing, but we're guessing, and I didn't guess until I got there, right? But that's how secretive they were about it.
Yeah,
right.
For sure. I was in the same boat. I'm like, I don't know who this is. Who could it be? I was not right. Like I said, I'm coming from Tampa to LA, hoping this isn't a scam or something, because I don't know too much about this Actors Access, but it's legit. I'll tell you what, people, So, I get to LA. So now I'm in LA. I end up in Koreatown, Jeff, and I'm balling on a budget here. You know how it is as a new actor, I mean, I'm not a former major league player of 7 years. I'm balling on a budget. I get out to LA, and I end up in Koreatown. And as you know, I don't have any information about where exactly this is. I don't have any information. And like, I end up in Koreatown, a nice place. And now actually every time I've been back to LA, I stay at this same spot. So this has become a cool spot for me,
Nice.
So, then I'm as soon as I get there, I'm checked in, I'm getting situated, and then I get an email from this correspondent, I'll call her, and then she's like, hey, we actually just we moved the dates for like 2 days later. So now I'm in LA like 2 extra days, and I'm like, yeah, no problem. And they were actually really cool. They paid for those extra days.
Oh, nice.
So it was no big deal. And then she says, yes, and this is going to be shot in Lancaster. So I'm in Koreatown, and I'm not super familiar with LA. I've been to LA in and out, but I don't really know LA. So I'm like, where the hell is Lancaster? So I look it up on a map, and it's like 2.5 hours away. And I'm like, and it's like in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, what the heck? And I had just got this little spot for a few nights. I'm like, okay, well, how the heck do I get to Lancaster? So I start thinking about my options. I'm like, do I rent a car? Do I take an Uber? And remember, I'm balling on a budget here, So I end up taking the damn Metro, right? I get on the Metro link. I figure out how to do that. I head to the train station. I get on downtown LA, and I head to Lancaster, man. We're doing this. And I still don't know if this is even real. I don't know who this music video is. I'm just, like you said, man, I'm listening to my gut. And that's something that I've really learned, man. That animal instinct is like, just go for it, and I'm listening to that, and I'm believing in it. And in my past, that's something that I didn't do, and I paid for it,
Right.
So I'm on this Metro, and now I'm like, where do I stay in Lancaster? I end up getting this Airbnb, nice house, but I just rented the room, right? And so I get to Lancaster, and I'm just checking my email because I still don't know. As you know, it's real secretive. They're not saying anything.
Yeah, I didn't get an email till like almost midnight for the next morning.
Yeah.
I had no clue either.
So I think I got to Lancaster that night prior to, And then, like you said, I finally get this email at like 1 a.m. or something saying, the call sheet, and, I don't have to be there until like 5 p.m. I think is my call time. So I'm like, oh, dang, So now I'm in the Uber to this location, which as you know, was a big location.
Yeah.
And I didn't know at the time, but I'm like, I've been seeing it and stuff since. I'm like, oh, damn, that's a spot, And I'm rolling up to this scene, to this, location. And man, they got the roads blocked off. They got trailers. It is like big time. And this is my first set, by the way. So I'm like, oh man, we're doing this, And then I remember seeing you. You were with Rex and a couple of the other Manchilds. And then I just kind of sat down, and eventually you guys were looking at me, and Rex, I think, came over and said something. So I'm gonna go talk to these guys. They're looking like me, kind of a thing. And then
let me tell you this. None of us were looking like you. So you walked in, man, and I gotta say, yeah, we're an odd bunch, no doubt. And we're under this tent in the middle of the desert, and there's not much around. And it had to be 105, 106 degrees that day. It was sweltering. Right. And I remember I'm sitting with these guys, and we're all cast as a man-child. There was like 6 of us. And I'm like, well, here's the number one man-child. When you walked past that, however you got into where we were, I'm like, holy And people that don't know you have tattoos from head to toe. You are fully committed. Yeah. And it is a look of like, at first you're stunned a little bit. It's like, that real? And that guy's big, man. So I don't know how tall you stand, but I was like, this guy's 6'9". He's got to be close to, 280. But you're what are you, 6'6", 6'5"? So what are you?
Yeah, I go with, I go with 6'5", and right now I'm at about 330.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, now I know where the wrestling came in right there when you told us, we got to know each other a little bit. And go from there, man. Go from there. So
yeah, so we're just kind of, hey, I'm Jeff. Hey, I'm Granden. Hey, I'm Rex. Just the fellas there. And then in that kind of beginning conversation, I think I said, hey, you guys, do you know who this pop star is? Do you know what is this legit? And then Sabrina Carpenter. Right. And I'm like, oh damn, this is legit, Yeah. And man, that really lit me up. So I'm like, oh man, we are, like, I listened to my gut, I listened to my gut, and here we are. We're doing it, And I remember you were just so nice to me. We, as soon as I mentioned baseball, you lit up, and you were a baseball guy, and we're only to say so much, but later I found out your dad's a damn Hall of Famer, and I didn't. So it was just cool to have that connection,
And I remember when we went out, and it was kind of our time to go participate in this musical video, and we're all kind of like, at least for me, you're going to ride this 100-year-old motorcycle, that's got a sidecar, that like a World War II bike. And the guy that was given it, that had the bike, was like, oh man, they said they were going to cast someone younger, and you're like, he thought he was the same age as me. This guy was like 75. I'm like, dude, right. I don't want to, hey man, that's all right. I could tell he was a little pissed off that he didn't get the part to ride his own motorcycle. But when he said, hey, let's test ride it, I would test ride this thing. It had a shift on the gas tank, which is so odd, where you have to take your hand off the gas to shift. And I had to ride around this little parking lot. And I'm like, shit, man, she's going to sit in the sidecar here. And the sidecar was they put a grocery basket there. I'm like, she's going to sit in this thing. And the guy says to me, he goes, hey man, the bike, when it gets to about 20 miles an hour, it's going to shake violently. I'm like, oh, really? Thanks for that tip, man. So what do I do? He goes, shift it into another gear, third gear, and then you'll break through it. I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to have $1 million, whatever. I don't know how much she was making it. I knew of her. I didn't, then I went and looked back and like, oh man, that's who she is. And I remember seeing her on, doing Saturday Night Live with Paul Simon, a duet. And, just thinking, God, man, she's like, this is going to be dangerous for her. I mean, what are they going to do? How are they going to put her in here? I'm going to haul down this desert road with her in the sidecar. And then when I was practicing the motorcycle, they put us in wardrobe too. So we all had kind of like cowboy boots. We were fashioned up for the 70s, basically. Right.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had no peg to put my boot on my left side. So I had to put the heel of my cowboy boot on a screw. So I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be interesting. Then we go by the street and you come up to me and go, yeah, man, they got me riding the Skidoo. I've never rode a motorcycle. And I could see in your eyes, like, this is going to be difficult.
And I've only been on a jet ski maybe like once.
Yeah, on the water, not on the concrete, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, like you just mentioned, they put us in a wardrobe, and dude, my pants were so tight I couldn't even like breathe. I was so uncomfortable. I couldn't even like lift my leg onto the damn Skidoo. But I was like, man, if she's gonna be on the back of me here, I'm not gonna miss this opportunity. So I made it happen.
I saw you nervous. It was one of those wave runners. They call them, they're not jet skis, but they're wave runners. So they look like snowmobiles on water. They call them a Skidoo, I guess, in Florida. I don't know what they call it, but this one had wheels. So this one was made for the road. Some just tricked out, Skidoo to just kind of freak people out or something. But there was a couple of, like, a lot of the transportation was like that for her music video.
Right.
But I remember you going to me going, man, I never rode a motorcycle. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm like, hey man, just take it easy, take it up and back a little bit and just see how you feel.
Yeah. I had to really battle for them to allow me to do that. Cause at first they were like, no, you can't be like, they were like, not going to allow me to practice. And I'm like, dude, I want to practice riding this thing. And the guy that it belonged to, he was, hey, make sure you don't scratch it. Make sure it's, in impeccable condition upon return. So he's putting all this pressure on me, and I'm like, dude. But eventually, he lets me, I get to practice a little bit. And my first couple runs at it, he was like, I don't know if you should do this. I was real shaky and.
Yeah, you were, man. I'm just don't worry, man. Don't worry. Just focus. When you get on it, just focus. The balance.
But I figured it out. I figured it out,
You did. And I remember, like, I went first before you. I'm like, hey, good luck, Granden, man. Here I go.
Yeah, good luck, Jeff,
I remember pulling up. I don't know how it happened to you, but she came out of her vehicle or van. They pulled up and she had a little entourage with her that were taking pictures, and she was sweet as can be. And she got in that shopping cart sidecar with these tight shorts. They had a pad in there for her. She goes, take the pad out. She got in there and said, let's roll. I mean, she's the Tom Cruise of, stunts on the female side, because she's like, let's go. And when we were rolling, man, and you got that Russian, vehicle camera that was coming around on us. Yeah. And then we got down the strip, and then the director came out. That's great. But on the way back now, you guys start talking to each other. And I remember my motorcycle was so loud that we started talking, but I couldn't hear a thing she was saying. She probably couldn't hear a thing I was saying. I was just talking about, hey, I used to ride my dog, Shags in the sidecar here, and he passed away. And, it's good to have some company. Your size is making up shit, right?
Right.
And then when we got done, man, I was thinking too, when I first started that thing, it started shaking at 20 miles an hour. And then once I put that in the third gear, it kind of popped out of it. And I'm like, oh, thank God, man. But I could hear the director going faster. I'm like, all right, man, here we go. We were doing 40 miles an hour with her just sitting in that sidecar, man. So I was thankful when it was done. Like, hey, man, I did that successfully. Didn't crash. And she was sweet, though. She got up and then she walked back to me and said, thank you for the ride and way to go. And you could tell she was a really cool, honest, grounded gal, man. That's what I felt from her. How about you?
For sure. I've since really become a fan of her. Whatever that means. I'm not listening to all of her music and all, but I pay attention to her. Working with her like that. She's, she was, like you said, she was so cool. But like you said, also, so I'm like one of the last people to go. Eventually I'm just standing there with this damn Skidoo, and nobody's around me, and I'm just, here we go. So then they, like you said, hey, you're up. So then I get on the damn thing, and you got to, drive not super far, but there's a good distance from where we were to then where she's going to get on. So I pull up, I stop. And like you said, there's massive entourage, and, you know, they're looking at me like, what is this guy? You know, where the hell did this guy come from? You know, and
Right.
nobody really knows anything about me. You know, I just show up, and I think she would change a different outfit every ride.
Yeah.
So, you know, I pull up, I'm sitting there for not too long, and then, you know, she's ready to roll. She comes over, man, and I'll tell you what, as she was getting on my jet ski, you know, I almost tipped the whole thing over. You know, I literally almost tipped the whole damn thing over,
Oh,
because it
man.
was real, like, you know, it's this wide jet ski, and I got
Yeah.
these tight pants, and I was having trouble. Like, it was real unstable, and I really had to lock in and focus. So thankfully there was one of the workers there standing to my right, because we actually tipped over and he caught us.
Wow.
And man, at that time, all of her whole entourage mouth, you know, opened up wide, and you know, she spoke about it on that. I sent you that clip.
Yeah.
This was no joke. We really almost went down, and then, as she said on that clip, shortly after, they said action, and man, I just took off, and you know, and then, you know, as we were coming to a stop, she you know, hey, do you know how to stop this thing? You know, I said, hey, well, I'm gonna give it my best shot here, you know. But yeah, like you said, she was real sweet. And I think I actually told her, I said, hey, thank you so much for having me here. This is actually my first, you know, my first role. And she said, oh, congratulations. She was real cool like that, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
She had some guts,
really
man.
cool.
She had some guts and some grit. And I got to tell you, all those stunts she did were full on. Like you, and she took that risk. She took the risk getting in the shopping cart, and she took that risk holding that. It looked like a garbage truck she was riding on, big truck in the music video. All the things she did, man. She had some guts, and yeah, it's cool. And then I find out, you know, she's from up east and sounds like she really had a grounded family, and you could just tell, man. So it was cool. That was a great experience, and I feel like me and you connected, and I'm like, when I got back home, I told Christie, I'm like, man, this guy I met, man, such a cool dude. His name's Granden. He was a pro ball player, pro wrestler, and we met on the video. He was a man child like me, and he was the man child. and
I don't know if that's a good title or not, but you know.
You're just talking with looks only. Yeah, you get to know you. You know you're not a man child, but myself either. I'm thinking when I'm riding that motorcycle, I'm thinking, are people going to think that I'm trying to hit on Sabrina Carpenter? I'm 60. You know, I'm like, come on.
Leave that for Granden, you know.
Yeah, leave that. But I almost felt like I was more the older protector that picked her up and like, okay, here's some company I could watch this. Make sure I get this girl from point A to point B. But yeah, man, and I remember going to Christie, going, man, I think he could play a good Conrad, man. I really do. And Christie's like, well, you know, and I showed your picture to her, and she's like, well, we'll have to give an audition. So I still had a long way to go of getting the movie money raised, but there came a time where I felt it was promising. I gave you a call. I don't know how early I gave you a call to audition for this. And when I did, I felt like, oh, I'm going to get this done, even though I was still far off from getting it done.
You fooled me. I didn't, you know, I thought, here we go, you know?
Yeah, but you hung with me like all the other actors did. And what was cool, man, putting you in this and casting you, and then now we're done with the scene, and you just got a chance to see a little bit of the clip you did. And
man, oh man.
It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool, like to a point of it really works, and you're really authentic, and your look is authentic for this role, playing a younger MC president that kind of clashes with my older, you know, legendary kind of status of a character who knows the ins and outs and how a club is run, you know, and it's not one, it's all. And so, yeah, what'd you think of the character you're playing? Just real quick.
Yeah, I mean, so I read the script, you know, and I'm like, oh man, I got to be a part of this, you know. There's definitely, I think, in all of us, you know, like I can certainly relate to this guy, you know? Like, how do I relate to this guy? How can I be this guy? How can I embody this guy, you know? And I just went for it, you know?
Yeah, you have, you know, knowing who you are and the kind of guy you are, you're this grounded, deep, thoughtful, man. And the character you're playing is, obviously he commands a presence. He
Right.
commands authority. He's a boss, and you can understand how he got there, but he's different than you personally. But you embody that look to take it where you had to go dig to find that guy, and what you did, you found him, and it's awesome and it's authentic. And I really go back to like our connection of baseball, that when we started talking baseball and I knew that you got to AAA, man, you were one step from the big show.
Yeah.
And that life, and I'm incorporating some former ball players playing club members in this film, like Sean Casey and and Archie Bradley and
Yeah.
Ryan Dempster has helped out. So I really wanted to get that community involved because that's where I'm from. And it's authentic to the roles they're playing. They're playing a different clubhouse guy, but it's still similar. That brotherhood, that strength, and that presence that I think all big leaguers have. So you really fit in there, and I was like, God, this is beautiful as far as like tiny synchronicities aligning in perfect timing kind of thing happening.
For sure. Yeah, I mean,
and,
it was just so crazy that I'm in the desert and then I meet this other baseball guy, and
yeah,
like you said, man, it goes back to baseball.
it does. It does.
I mean, I'm a baseball guy at heart. Really, my whole adult life, I've been a baseball player. My dream, was to be a Major League Baseball player. Heck, I thought I'd still be playing now. I'm only 33, and like you were a ball player yourself. You've been immersed in the culture of baseball your whole life. Obviously with your father, one of the best to ever do it. And it was just so cool that these two worlds here, have baseball again has brought me so much. And now it got me my first role. This was my first role, big role. So, in the film industry, you got all these, there's other big, scary looking guys. They're bigger than me. They're scarier than me, arguably, I'll go toe to toe with them though. But they just stand in the corner and they can't speak. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I thought this role was such a great role. And because, man, this role, I had to act. I had to bring it. I'm not just standing there in the corner. And I just took it as such a major opportunity. Because for me, this is like my coming out party. I'm showing the world from the start, man. I'm not just some big, goon. I can do it.
Yeah, damn right you can. And it was great to see, man. And we not only did it, in front of the camera, but we had about 30 guys in the other room, attached to where we were watching on monitors. So it was almost like live theater. And I remember looking and go, and I don't know if you went like, is this normal, man? But it was like, to me, I'm like, hey man, I'm cool with it. Let's go, game on. We got an audience. Let's do it.
For sure. That's how I felt. I was just so locked in. I if there was, 100 more people there, it wouldn't have changed anything, man. Me and you, we rehearsed that so many times. As I listened to your previous podcast with Johnny, man. I put in my ground balls, or you know what I'll say? I took my fly balls because I'm coming from the outfield. And yeah, man, I took my fly balls and I was so prepared for that moment. And I know you were, and we were ultimately. So if there was 30 people, 100 people, we were going to knock it out of the park,
Yeah, you got that right, man. And I got to get back to your career in baseball. When did you start playing baseball, and when did you have the dream like this is who you're going to be?
From a very early age, Jeff. As long as I can remember, and I don't know where it came from. I was just a little boy, and I was attracted to baseball. I mean, I knew from a very early age, perhaps it came from my grandfather, my mom's father. I know he was a baseball player. I guess it would have been Legion Bowl from Pennsylvania. I remember just being a kid. I believe it was the Ken Burns VHS baseball series. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
I would just watch these VHSs just one after another, and I would just keep going. I was so attracted to it, and from a very early age, that's what I wanted to do. And it started very young.
When did you know that you had the talent to to get to the top. Were you drafted out of high school or did you go to college? What's the deal there?
Yeah. So I was drafted out of high school, Palmetto High School in Palmetto, Florida. I had signed with Florida Gulf Coast University, pretty close to home. But I did not want to go to college. I wanted to be a baseball player. Actually in college now,
Yeah. Did
But,
you get what round did you get drafted in?
I was a second round draft pick, 75th overall.
Wow.
So, fairly high, man. I mean, so we're coming in hot. I mean, at the time, I was one of the top prospects. This guy's he's gonna do it. That's what everybody thought. That's what I thought.
What was your game? Hitting, speed? What was it?
Yeah, I guess my thing was I was kind of that power speed guy. In baseball, that's such a coveted thing. That this guy can hit homers, but he can also steal bases, and that was kind of my thing. I was this real athletic, big guy, but man, I could really run as well. And maybe I should have played football, Jeff.
Well, hey, there's always, we could have the should haves in our lives, right? The older I get, I just kind of let that go now, and I'm standing in the place I'm standing because of where I've been and fortunate to be standing here and still, taking in the fresh air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't know what could go a different way of a should have, but you're here and we're here together. And I love that, man. And I love meeting people like you along this journey because you're sincere, you're authentic, you're as real as they come. And that's what I was looking for, and my wife and I were looking for in this movie. And I think the one thing that represents Forever Wild Ones is that it's authentic. There's truth there, and the people playing the roles are pretty much filled with that truth in some kind of way,
Right.
of their own paths in life. So, you were 75th pick for what team was it?
Tampa Bay Rays.
Wow. So in Johnny's team, Johnny Gomes,
Yeah, I mean, I watched Johnny Gomes as a kid. I'm 30 minutes south of the Trop, so yeah, I would be watching the Devil Rays at the time. On the little TV. I didn't have cable. I put the little piece of wire in the back, and I'd be watching Johnny Gomes, Rockaball Deli, Julio Lugo, Carl Crawford. These are just the guys I remember watching on my local team. Interestingly, I got drafted by that team years later.
Yeah.
But
now,
even
tell me how it didn't come to fruition for you, because you got up all the steps, you got up all the ladders, you got to AAA. Where was the cutoff, man? When did you say, okay, it's not for me, and you're not stepping into the show?
It's interesting because I'm 33 now, and 33 is young in this world. I'm a young, and there's a lot of guys that are older than me in the big leagues, and there's guys that are that I got drafted with that are still playing, and these were my teammates. These are not strangers. I know these guys in and out, and they're still playing and I'm not. So how does that happen? How does a guy who's bigger, faster, stronger than more than most of his competition, how does he not, quote unquote, make it? And certainly if you look at my statistics, I don't have excellent statistics at all. And really the one that stands out the most for me is, even before I got drafted, I just could not stay healthy. I was getting injured left and right. I played parts of 11 years, Jeff, and there was only 1 year, I believe it was 2014, where I played in over 100 games. So, I'm missing a lot of time, and that compounds into, it's hard to be, you strain your oblique, which I did a handful of times, and then you're out for 3 months, and now you're back, and now 97 looks like 117, and just the injuries really affected a lot of my mentality, and also my, just my ability. I always had in the back of my head, I don't know that I want to, I hit a ground ball and maybe I shouldn't run as hard as I can because I don't want to strain my hamstring again. And I had a lot of that. Throughout the entirety of my playing days.
And what was it like? I know it's It was for me, even though I played Division I, but I never got into the draft or anything like that. But and I quit at a certain age, and it was tough because you're giving up something that you think that, oh, maybe you had a chance. It's never easy to give up something you love. What was that like for you?
You know what? I actually did not have a hard time with it, to be frank. And partly because, I'm approaching 30 at the time. I'm approaching 30 years old. I mean, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, they got me starting in double A in 2017. And I'm right there. And then, the next couple of years, you're back in double A. And it was just sucking the life out of me. So in 2021, I ended up, I was unsigned by one of the affiliated teams for the first time in 2020. And then there was no minor league season that year. So, a guy like me, it really is going to be almost impossible to get signed. So I ended up, I actually traveled to South Korea in 2020, and I worked out for a couple of the KBO teams, but which was a crazy thing to do because I had no big league experience. It was really just a Hail Mary. I went for it. Worked out for a couple of the teams, the Latte Giants, and at the time, I believe it was the SK Wyverns, but nothing came of it. I came home 2021. Once again, I'm unsigned at spring training, and I'm approaching 30 years old. I'm no longer, I'm no longer this 18-year-old top prospect. I'm now I guess I'm like a journeyman holding on to a dream that is not, it's just no longer as a possibility. And once I saw that, I just felt from within that I just don't believe this is a possibility. I just don't believe it. It's like a relationship. My relationship was with baseball. Baseball no longer loved me. And because, baseball, because she was treating me like that, I no longer wanted to be with her. So it was a mutual breakup, if you will.
Yeah, man. And I gotta ask you this because this defines you now when you go out in public. Your tattoos, and I talked about it from the beginning. They're from head to toe, and that's a level of commitment not many people would ever make. Right? When people see you
balls
today,
to make.
yeah, have the balls to make. Absolutely. When they see today, they see someone completely different than the younger ball player, like people who knew you back when you did sign at 18. What inspired the transformation, and what do your tattoos represent to you?
Yeah, I'll preface this by saying, I never, like, growing up, really, I never thought that I would, look like this at 33. I never, had this plan of, oh, I'm going to get all these tattoos and spend a bunch of my signing bonus on tattoos. But really, I've thought about this, and it's still something that I'm a big, I journal a lot. I really think about my past because, that was my dream. And I think about why and how did that not come into, why did that not happen? I want to learn, because I'm only 33. I have a long life ahead of me. I want to take those lessons and apply them to acting, and I want to, make it in acting. So I think about these things, and I'm still thinking about them. And my first tattoo, I was 19. And like I said, I never wanted tattoos. I was 19. My father died, only 53 years old, peritoneal cancer. And at the time, I was surrounded by, older guys. I'm in pro ball now. I'm playing around, I'm playing with, guys that are much older than me. I'm in the GCL. I think it was the GCL at the time. I'm early in pro ball, but I'm playing with, 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds. And, these guys got tattoos, and some of my buddies were getting tattoos, and I was navigating this, turbulent experience. When your father dies, I mean, this is a big, big thing for a lot of people, maybe not everybody, but,
Yeah.
I was navigating those feelings, and I ended up with his initials on my arm, and that was my first tattoo. So you could say that tattoos came into my life, became a part of my life as a way to navigate my life experience, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of they've become a way to kind of alchemize my experience. You know, I've integrated, you know, like when I get my father's initials tattooed on me, I integrate those feelings of losing him. I integrate them into my being, and I carry him forward, you know, in an adaptive manner rather than, you know, how does one, you know, a lot of people handle the loss of their father quite maladaptively, you know, and I didn't do that. So tattoos have kind of, they've kind of become a way just for me to navigate life. And I like that word integration, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did all the tattoos happen? How did one after another keep coming? What was that thought process?
I have different answers for this, you know, depending on how I feel, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and because I get this question a lot, as you can imagine.
I bet.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I give a more insightful answer, and other times I just say, you know what, I think they're really cool. And I do think they're really cool. I think it's a cool culture. I think they look cool. Tattoos look cool on other people. I like that look. You know, I like that, you know, and also too, you know me quite well at this point, and anybody that does know me, they know that I'm not like I look like, you know. Tattoos, they kind of come with a little stigmatism, you know, and interestingly, the most judgmental people of my tattoos are typically people who they got a lot going on in their life, you know, because most people, they think my tattoos are really cool and, oh, that's so cool. You know, I mean, people are just going to be judgmental no matter what I do, no matter what you do, no matter what anybody does. And
You got that right.
yeah, I've really learned to I just walk with my chest high, no matter what store I go into, the airport. You know, I don't even see these people looking at me. I could care less what they think. And that's a superpower that I've had to develop, you know, because maybe at some point I'd care too much about, you know, what other people thought. And even going back to baseball, man, so many times I would step into that damn batter's box, you know, and my batting coach, well, he wants my elbow up here, and the other one wants my foot facing that way. And I care what these guys think, so I'm going to do it. But really, I don't feel comfortable. And next thing you know, I'm striking out. And I stepped into that batter's box so many times on other people's terms. And I paid the piper, and I allowed that to happen. And I think that might be another thing why I said, I'm going to get these tattoos to stick it to the man. I want to do this. And I don't care what you think, you know?
No, I get it, man. I totally get it. I think that has a lot of people when people get tattoos. When I got my first tattoo, I kind of left the comfort of where I was from and going into a new world out here in Hollywood, and it's marking yourself like you're not meant for the other part of you, you know, and or the judgment of what you felt. And I can feel that, man, what you're saying. Like maybe it's like, hey, okay, you want to judge me, I don't care. This takes the weight off of you now, and you go and you're comfortable in this new skin. And that's meaningful, man. And I know you're all about meaning and purpose. I felt that right when I met you. And I think that's what we have a lot in common with. If I feel that kind of same way. You know, you've had a unique life and a unique journey, and here you are, and this is who you are, and you walk tall with it. And I love that. And life has changed a lot. There's a lot of people with tattoos, no tattoos or whatever, that the acting world, it's like people are used to seeing it. And there's roles for you because you do stand out in a very, I would say, very powerful way that I've ever seen before. And then knowing you, there's another power there down deep. And I hope you go far with it because you're that kind of guy that will be appreciative and nurture it, man. So I really do.
Well, I certainly appreciate you saying that, you know, and recognizing that. And yeah, you know, I just feel like as an actor, I've thought about this as an actor, you know, in such a competitive industry, I feel like it would behoove the individual to not be like everybody else. I watch all kinds of shows and movies, and I just see a lot of replaceable people, and I just don't think that I'm replaceable. I just believe in that. And like I said, too, a lot of that belief comes from maybe, being in the batter's box and not really believing in what I was doing, and as you can't be in that box with, supreme confidence, or that he's gonna strike you out,
Yeah. You got that
And
right, man.
I've been struck out enough to this is my thing, man. I'm going for it, and it's incredibly difficult, as you know, especially as a new actor. Establishing yourself is it's very difficult, and that's why I'm so thankful and grateful for the opportunity, to be in Forever Wild Ones and to showcase my ability. You guys took a chance on me, and I'm just so I just can't wait for people to see it, see the final product, and you and Christie you forever have a place in my heart, because I know how much of yourselves you're putting into it, and to be a part of that, I'm grateful.
Oh man, thank you for that. That's awesome, man. And also the wrestling ring for you, that was another step into the acting world, it seems like, for you, because that really is one step into acting, right?
For sure. I mean, pro wrestling, it really is, all you're doing is acting. You're really like a stunt man. You're a stunt man, and then you're acting. It's, interestingly, like when I got into pro wrestling, I grew up, like as a kid, I liked pro wrestling. I would watch it. But then as I got older, and how it's not even real, like I didn't pay any attention to it. But then when my baseball career came to an end, I'm only 20 something. And I'm thinking, geez, I don't want to be, I don't want to freaking work at, Cisco, which is like a local company where I live, just like a local cookie cutter company. And then, I don't really want to be a high school baseball coach, which I did briefly. This isn't what I want to do. I have more to offer, and then I had this exotic look, and I was athletic, and of course, I knew somebody connected to wrestling. But I always had my sights set on acting, because I saw these wrestlers, a handful of them, they would then transition into the movies and shows. And I thought, well, interestingly too, as a baseball player, you know, in the off season or whatnot, nobody ever thought I was a baseball player. I would go into a restaurant, or, they say, "Oh man, are you a wrestler? Are you a wrestler?" And all my, I had numerous coaches tell me, "Man, when you're done playing baseball, you got to get into wrestling." Because I was a little bit bigger. I was a little bit, I'm quite charismatic, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I didn't really, even recently I went to maybe a couple years ago, I went to a spring training game here in Florida. The Rays were playing the Pirates, and my old coaches that I had in AA, AAA, now they're in the big league. So I went to see them, and they're looking at a guy who isn't like the guy they had. I'm covered in tattoos. I'm bigger. My hair is braided. And but they would say to me, they said, "Man, you were always this guy. You were always this guy before you had this. Like, you were this guy." So I think I just had the courage to kind of be that guy internally and externally.
I love that, man. Yeah, I do know. And your name in wrestling was Trench, right? That's and
Right.
tell me where you got that name.
Yeah, Trent, I made my debut with AEW with a faction, the local affiliates, me, Parker Boudreaux, Swerve Strickland, and Rick Ross, And so I did not have a name. I was just kind of unnamed, like heel, scary guy. But eventually, week after week, I had to come up with a name. And ultimately, a couple were tossed around, but we landed on Trench. I'm always talking about, or at the time, perhaps I was always talking about, the trenches and coming from the trenches. It's like a little saying, and I would always say that, when people would ask me, where are you from? I said, man, I come from the trenches, and we just ended up on Trench, we ended up on Trench, and I like that. So that's where Trench kind of came from. And then, yeah, ultimately the wrestling, it got cut short. I had a 2-year contract with AEW. So 2022 and 2023, really a year and a half contract, I should say. So I make my debut in late 2022. And then maybe 2 or 3 months into my run, I had this injury. I sustained an injury to my right leg at a show in El Paso, Texas. I was practicing, prior to the show. I would have workouts because, I was a new wrestler. I was actually one of like 3 non-wrestlers that AEW gave a chance. So that was pretty cool. Also too, Jeff, this is like, if you've never played baseball before, and then all of a sudden, you never played baseball, and then all of a sudden you sign with the Chicago Cubs and they put you in as a starting left fielder. So AEW is a top tier wrestling promotion. It's AEW and WWE. That's the pinnacle. So, I'm very proud of just walking right in and doing that. I got my cup of coffee, if you will.
Yeah. Right on, man.
But yeah, it didn't really, it got cut short. Like I said, I had this injury that ultimately led me to pursuing acting a bit sooner than I anticipated. But it was always a plan to then get into acting. And once I got injured, and I did not really enjoy the wrestling aspect of it. I liked being in front of the camera and doing some stuff, but I just couldn't get into the wrestling part. I just wasn't into it,
But I got to tell you, man, Christie and I are very proud and honored to have you in Forever Wild Ones. And like we say, man, you really fit that part. And I'm excited for people to see you in this because there's just something about when you come into the story towards the third act here. It's powerful stuff. And I wish you nothing but the best, brother, because like I said, outside, inside, you definitely got this exotic look, and you are just a really grounded person. And I want to lastly talk about, you take care of your mother. You talked about your dad passing away years ago.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Jeff, my mother, she's just my best friend, she just means the world to me. It's just me and her, it's just been me and her for so long. And that's really it. It's just me and her. I remember as a kid, my father, he did not want me to play baseball. My father was actually a boxer. He didn't want me to play baseball for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, I wanted to play. So my mom saw that. She recognized it. And I remember, being in elementary school, and my mother, she rented a hideaway storage, a little storage unit close to the school. And so she would pick me up from school. We would go to the storage facility. I would change into my little uniform for practice. I'd go practice. And then we'd go back to the facility after to get back into my normal clothes. And then we'd go home. So my dad, didn't even know that I was doing that. And she just supported me. And yeah.
Buddy, yeah, I could tell, man.
Yeah,
yeah, man, I hear you. That's awesome, brother. Well, thank you for being on the podcast here and sharing your story with us, man.
And certainly I look forward to, the premiere. I know everybody's going to enjoy the film. And yeah, you and Christie are just forever in my heart, Forever Wild Ones, as they say.
There you go, man. We're forever wild ones. All right. Love you, brother. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Yes,
thanks
sir.
for being on.
Thank you so much.
You got it, pal. Thank you. See you, bud.
At santofilms.com, we offer a diverse range of products, including indie films, movie posters, books, music, and related merchandise. Check out our new This Old Cub apparel and podcast merchandise, or delve into the pages of Ravens in the Rain, a twisty tale about a woman with a past and a man with no future. or immerse yourself in the soundtrack from the original motion picture Jake's Corner, featuring 5 original songs by B.J. Thomas and the film score by award-winning songwriter Steve Dorff. Enjoy free shipping on all orders of $40 or more. Use the code PODCAST at checkout. Support small business. Visit www.santofilms.com. And while you're there, click the link for the Ron Santo official website. We've got a retro-inspired Ron Santo fan club shirt, Ron Santo Pizzeria shirts, and signature apparel. Go to www.santofilms.com. And now for our surprise Crackerjack segment. So we have a question from our cool Crackerjack, Paula Conlon, my godmother.
Right on. Bring it on, Paula.
All right. She says, I love your podcast, and one reason is because I know you and love you. How did you have the courage to think you could find an audience who would be interested in what you had to say? And it's a 2-part question. The other one is with Forever Wild Ones, the same question, and how do you plan to promote your film?
All right. Do you want me to start with the first question and you start with the second one? How about that?
Okay.
But you got to answer the first one too. I believe we have an interesting story together, you and me, right? And I feel my life growing up was unique. I'm not afraid to own that now. I didn't for most of my life, but now I do. I entered some larger-than-life rooms when I was a kid. I think that's what's special in me. I believe that. And I got to observe some fascinating characters and personalities up close and personal when I was a single-digit kid. So the courage was already there. The understanding of my life and who I am, which you gave me a deep understanding of that, more than I ever had. And thank you. Gave me the confidence to step in our own room and own it. And so I think that's how this podcast came about.
Yes. So for me, it had a lot to do with my belief in you. And that, I mean, we've had numerous discussions about this, you are a public persona.
Well, my dad.
I know that. Okay, hey everyone, we're going to have this conversation right here in front of your ears again. So this is, you are a public persona, and you may think, oh, your dad is, and it's not you. But you are. You make films. Films are for the public consumption. You make entertainment. So you are a part of the entertainment industry. Therefore, you are a public person. Whether you have a following of 5 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, you still have a following, and then that grows. If you were to look at a musician who's, touring around the United States with a band, and they're growing their audience, and they've sold, 1,000 albums, then how are they any different from you?
Okay, good way to look at it.
Yeah. You're a public persona.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
I'll own that.
so there's the ability, the answering this question, it's like, do you have the right to have a voice? Right. And then, do you have a voice? I know that you have a voice because you're really interesting and very entertaining, and you are a very great storyteller, and you have great interviewing capabilities. I mean, even that TV station that you worked for saw that, and you would have gone down that path if you felt that in your heart. So, this is just something that I knew that you could excel in. And not only did I believe that, but you were being told that by other people. So we all believed, and you're like, okay, let's give it a try. So that's why we did it. We didn't know if it was going to be a success or not at all.
No, we didn't. Yeah.
And so that's why it's like, it doesn't really start with thinking about the audience. You don't think about like, oh, you have to have an audience in order to do this.
You should. Yeah.
it starts with the story, the content, because if you chase an audience, you're already looking at the wrong direction. If you tell a good story or provide podcast content that's deeply authentic to you and there, it's entertaining, there's a much better chance that will be like relatable to someone else and therefore worthy. It's like with Forever Wild Ones, we know it's not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. We're trying to make a movie. We're not trying to make a movie that appeals to everyone. We're not trying to make a film what we think that they would want. We're making a movie that we want to make.
You got that right.
And so and by doing that, then it will be entertaining to others because it's authentic. As far as having courage, I think it's great that she thinks that. I don't know if I'd call it courage as much as conviction. I believe in the characters of our story. I also believe in the stories of our guests, and if it matters to us, then maybe it'll matter to somebody else.
That's it right there.
And promoting the film, I mean, obviously we have clever ideas and all this interesting stuff that we don't want to necessarily talk about right now.
Right.
But it's the same kind of thing. It's like we're not looking for every audience. We're looking for our audience. The people who love motorcycles, burlesque, baseball, Americana, character-driven stories about connection, and like the people we meet on the road of our life, the metaphoric road of our life. Like that's the story. That's the essence. I forget the quote. I think it might be Robert Frost, but it's like we've come across people and they leave footprints on our hearts and we're forever changed. That's the story, like the road is full of beauty and danger and, but it's worthwhile even in any circumstance because it changes us. It forever fulfills us and gives us purpose.
Yep, there you go, and meaning. And I have to say, coming for Forever Wild Ones, the second part of the question, Raleigh Boulder's the character I played. I believe in him with all my heart and soul, and I believe in Sam Mason, the character Velvetina Taylor played, the same passionate way. And I knew this going into that. It depends on, and you guided us there, that Velvetina and me carried these characters a long distance down the road. And I believe now these characters will carry Forever Wild Ones the rest of the way. And I believe that. Mm-hmm. And I also believe that they're worth watching. And everyone else in the story that shows up along their journey, they're worth watching, And so the story itself is worthy, and the story behind the story is just as worthy. So that's the independent spirit that shines on these types of stories. They just don't come out of nowhere. It's story on top of story on top of story that tells the story, and you and I are very grateful for it all, for everyone involved. And so that's how we're going to market it, basically, is just get that out there. And I do have to say that Forever Wild Ones has soul, and souls find their way back home. And the film was made with truth, and truth always finds its audience.
Yes.
And that's Forever Wild Ones.
Yes. And I think that, courage, let's talk about courage for a second. Because it's so interesting, this question, because it's like, you don't realize it's courage when it is. And so maybe it is, but we just don't realize, because it is conviction, but and maybe that's the thing. It's like, Great Gatsby and the green light, it's the pole that takes you on your journey. You don't even realize there's no thought process of like thinking, oh, this is courageous or this is so risky, or, you just have no other choice.
No other choice. And that is it. And I think the people involved start to feel that too. And there's just a connection that I got to just say this when we were doing this and when you talk about courage, that I knew that when we were doing it, when I'm in the middle of getting ready to act in a scene, that so focused that just don't like, I'm on the end deck circle, right? I'm going to the batter's box. Mm-hmm. I am in my tunnel. Mm-hmm. I hear everything, but I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you were saying, so it's a lot of that at a very high level, and you feel that you hope that will transform. You believe it will transform over, and others will see that. And that's what we're going to find out.
Oh, I can't wait for everyone to see you as Riley.
Yeah, so that's it. And you got to believe in that, and you just got to put it out that way. And Paula, thank you for that question.
Thank you for that question.
You had us dive deep into the deep end, and pick up a penny and bring it to the top, and hopefully not lose our oxygen.
And just a little bit about promoting our film. Telling one person about it, and that person tells one person, and that person tells one person, that's the best marketing plan you could possibly have. And so we're just going to try to tell as many people as possible and hope that they tell one person at least. And then therefore, we have something that some people want to talk about.
There you go. All right. Thank you, Paula.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to our show. Special thanks to our cool Crackerjacks, Scott Nelson, Jim McCauley, Debbie Foley, Sherry Matarisi, Gary Tallman, Mac McPhillamy, Paula Conlon, Stephen Mahon.
Mahon.
We still don't know if we're pronouncing that right.
And Ronnie Wexler.
This show is made possible because of them and all of our subscribers. If you want to support the show and be a cool Crackerjack yourself, subscribe on our Patreon page, click the link below this episode, or go to the Patreon tab on our website, www.peanutspopcornandcrackerjacks.com.
And leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave a review. I haven't seen many lately, but leave a review.
And don't hesitate to write. Give us suggestions. Tell us how you're liking the show, or suggest a Crackerjack question. Email jeff.ppcpodcast@gmail.com.
For my closing quote, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have courage to follow your heart and intuition. Steve Jobs.
Toodaloo! Check out a collection of movies by Santo Films now streaming. This Old Cub, the critically acclaimed documentary about Ron Santo and his Hall of Fame career while battling type 1 diabetes, in a time when diabetes was unknown to most. It is available on Tubi, iTunes, and Amazon. Jake's Corner, a family drama starring Richard Tyson, Diane Ladd, and Danny Trejo. And Liar's Poker, a whodunit featuring Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Then there's Dead in 5 Heartbeats, an off-the-grid motorcycle club film with real motorcycle clubs produced by Sonny Barger Productions and Santo Films. All films were written, produced, and directed by Jeff Santo. Watch now on Tubi, iTunes, and Amazon.